Steven, just like John Heyman, did I jump the gun a little bit last podcast talking about the Raiders' playoff chances?
No, I don't think so. No, you didn't. You didn't jump the gun on a. You didn't on a Wednesday, like unless you would have said yesterday, like or something, or on like Friday night. But no, you did not jump the gun on it. We all had the right to say that the Raiders could possibly make the playoffs because they looked like a competent football team.
And then Thursday hit, and
Mhm.
that podcast, which we did with Alon, was very fun, but a little outdated now. And we'll get all into it today as we react to the Raiders' 17-16 loss to the LA Rams. Welcome everybody to Just Your Pregame Show, man. Stephen Langford, Derek Papa. A lot to discuss today, but it's rare that we get to talk about a Raider game on the pregame show that already happened. So let's get right into it, sir. And you texted me right after the game. Raiders lose 17-16 after Baker Mayfield signs with the Rams on a Tuesday. And then we did a show Wednesday, and I said, I think it'd be very hard for Baker Mayfield to grasp the offense at that amount of time. And I thank you for posting that after the game.
Mm-hmm.
And then the game happens, and for the most part, the Raiders' defense does a very well job against the Rams' offense, which the Rams' offense hasn't been doing much this season. So it looked like a Thursday night game. It looked like the Raiders were playing on a short week. Look at the Rams are playing on a short week. John Walford gets the start, plays one series, gets the win, by the way, which tells you how ridiculous that stat is. And then Baker Mayfield plays the rest of the game, and it seemed to me like Sean McVay just let him do his thing out there. And for the most part, like I said, the Raiders' defense was playing well.
Mm-hmm.
And Devontae Adams had a great one-handed catch over Jalen Ramsey, and then kind of shut out the rest of the game. But Josh Jacobs, and then we got to monitor the rest of the season now, is a broken pinky, probably. And he ran well, but finished with 90 yards. Nevertheless, in the end, the Raiders were up 16-3, and very similar to the Bucs Saints game on Monday night.
Mm-hmm.
The Rams sneak in 16-10. And then the same situation happens where the Raiders have a short distance situation. They had a 3rd-1, gave it to Josh Jacobs. You would assume he's going to pick up the first down, but the Rams stuff him. And then they're stuck with a decision of whether they should go for it on 4th-1 on their own, I want to say 30-ish, whatever it was. It was in their own territory. Not something you would do normally. And I texted you. I was like, it's kind of the same situation. But, I mean, then they got a 60-yard punt from A.J. Cole. Fantastic punt. Is down at the 2-yard line. Matt Collins is doing the gritty. Everyone's expecting Baker Mayfield won't do shit because he just got there. And then we get pass interference call. We get a ridiculous unsportsmanlike penalty call from Jerry Tillery, knocking the ball out of Baker Mayfield's hand for whatever reason he wanted to do that. And then, like Richard Sherman put it, the Raiders just went into a scout team defense and played man coverage when you have to you can't allow a touchdown. Field goal does you no good. Put everything in front of you, and Vance Jefferson scores a touchdown with 9 seconds left, and the Raiders lose the game 17-16.
Yep.
You texted me after the game, is this the worst Raider loss of all time? In which I responded, no. But I will give you the floor, sir. And while I give you the floor to speak about this game, I need to make good on 4 weeks of losing our picks contest. And I originally said I was going to get some hot sauce and a beer. And I thought, I could do that. But that's not going to make good on 4 weeks worth of getting things wrong. By the way, you got last week wrong, so you got to do something when you can.
Okay.
But yesterday, my buddy who went to school with me in Austin, Texas, got me a gift. Are you familiar with B.J. Robinson's mustard?
Oh, you mean Bijan Robinson?
That's what I said, B.J. Robinson.
You said BJ.
Did I?
No, but the Bijan mustard, yeah.
He came through. Bijan Mustardson. So he gave this is the box that it's in, and there's actually a funny message inside.
So what's the challenge here?
I will say in a second, but this is the message from B. John Robinson,
Mhm.
future NFL running back from the Longhorns. Hi, I'm B. John. I want to personally thank you for putting your mouth in the hands of my fancy D. John mustard. I'm really excited for. Oh, one sec. Someone's at the door. All right, I'm back. It was just the mail delivery person dropping off some important correspondence. Where was I? Oh, yeah. I'm really excited for you to try this delicious mustard I made. And I hope, oh man, it's the door again. What are the chances? Hold on. I'll make it quick. Okay, I'm back again. And wow, I am sorry for that. That took a few hours. It was one of those door to door salesmen. I'm trying to sell me a new air conditioning system, which turns out I didn't need. So I picked out a real nice one, and they're coming back to install it next week. I'm definitely looking forward to the better airflow. Anyway, open. Will you look at the time? I've got to get going to a football practice with my football friends.
That's so
Really goofy.
random.
Very random. But this is the mustard, and I haven't tried it yet. And since I owe you 4 weeks of picks, I got fire wings, and
Oh.
on the wings are the mustard.
Huh.
So I'm going to eat those, and I'll give you the floor, sir, while I do that, of what you thought of this Raiders game and your hot take that this is the worst Raider loss of all time.
Is that a hot take?
I think it is. And I'm going to have a hot take of myself as I eat these wings. Go for it.
I'm not going to act because the Raiders have lost a lot, and I'm not going to act like I can remember every single loss. But dude, this is right up there, and it's like Derek. It's okay just to actually say something is like that happened in that moment is in the pantheon of all timeness, because that's what it was. It really was. Like especially with the stats that hit me afterwards with it. Like Adam Schefter tweeting out that teams are 4 and 551 when they're in situations like that where they're down by 13 with however many minutes left to go, with 3 minutes left to go. And one of those wins obviously was the Buccaneers and the Saints. And then I also saw that this was the first time in 45 seasons that no team had that any team had ever come back on a game-winning touchdown drive when on the 2-yard line. And then the circumstances surrounding it, the fact that Baker Mayfield came in, he hasn't played for a couple of weeks really, and he looked terrible the entire game, and somehow you got those 2 stupid penalties. It's not even the Baker Mayfield effect. It's just the fact that you got those 2 penalties and you let him drive downfield. And then it was the defense. Oh, and it was your quarterback and Derek Carr, who they are going to probably pay. Like even after this game, I think they're still going to pay him, regardless for the next 2 years, and pick up that option.
You're saying my quarterback?
Huh?
You're saying my quarterback?
No, I'm saying Derek Carr.
No, you said your quarterback.
Oh, I'm talking about the Raiders in general. I'm not speaking like directly to you.
I thought you were making a point like your quarterback, Derek, that you want.
Yeah, your guy. But you're probably going to pay him, even though that last drive might not have even once lost you the game like it did. But you know what? Maybe that interception did at the end of the first half, where that was probably the worst throw I've ever seen Derek Carr make. Because if you go up 20-3, everything's different in that situation. So
he was hit on the play, though.
Okay, but come on. Really? Was he hit on the play?
Yes, he was.
Really?
Yes, he was.
He floated that thing, man. Hang on. I'm going to go back. I'm going to watch it as I'm talking, because that throw might have been one of the worst that I've seen him ever make.
It was a lollipop throw, no doubt, but he was hit on the play.
All right, I'm watching. No, he wasn't. What are you talking about? I just rewatched it. He was not hit on the play. He ran into his lineman. He stepped into his lineman. He wasn't hit on the play by anybody.
Greg Gaines wasn't on that?
No.
I'll have to look back.
Yeah, he was not hit on the play. So that throw might have cost him the entirety of the season. Like, I I'm just over it. I'm over it. McDaniels with the call on 3rd and 1. Essentially, when that hadn't worked all night, by the way, when Bobby Wagner clearly could read whatever the Raiders were doing, it was just, I don't know, man. I think it's right up there. And the fact that it ended the Raiders season, any chance they had of getting to the playoffs, they needed to win out, and they couldn't do it against the Rams. And oh yeah, you did it on Thursday Night Football, prime time. So yeah, I'm pretty convinced. But you know what? It is what it is. I'm surprised, to be honest, that that everybody is still on that team right now as far as the coaching staff. I'm surprised everybody's still hired. Okay, I thought subheads were going to roll, but nah, I'm not really going to call for that. Whatever.
I am not as down about it as you are, and a lot of Raider fans are. Listen, I understand. It sucked, and it was a terrible loss. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Of course it was. And Derek Carr was hit on that play. Go back and look, Steven. Jesus. But it's not the worst Raider loss of all time. Steven, this franchise has been around since 1960. You're going to tell me in 62 years of football, what happened Thursday was the worst loss that ever happened to them?
Probably not, Derek, but it's pretty damn bad.
Okay, so that's the issue I have, is that we have this immediacy problem with our society today, where we just think whatever happened right in front of us in that moment was the worst thing of all time or the best thing of all time. Can we just think about it? Like, I understand people live in the moment. Oh, actually, we don't live in the moment now, but people just forget about things in the past. Remember a year ago when the Raiders were playing the Cleveland Browns with all of their starters out with COVID?
Yeah.
They almost lost that game. And I remember you texting me, if they would have lost that game, that would have been the worst Raider loss of all time.
Yeah.
Well, not everything could be the worst Raider loss of all time, let alone this season. How many blunders were there?
A lot. But
so each one is going to be the worst Raider loss of all time after each loss?
It's right up there, man. That's how bad they are.
I don't think they're that bad. I think they had a bad situation.
Like, here's what I'm saying, Derek. History shows, like, in 45 seasons, that has not happened in the NFL, where a team's gone on a game-winning drive, 98 yards downfield to win.
I understand.
4 and 551.
Listen,
4
I get
and
it.
551. Like, come on, man. It's okay to go with the immediacy like that. I know you hate these hot take artists, but it's okay to do that, because sometimes in the context of it, it might be with the circumstances surrounding it.
I could understand that from somebody else, Steven, but you and I have watched a lot of Raider football in our lives, and I can't say that was the worst Raider loss I've seen of all time.
Okay. Like, there's got to be another way to word it then, because that's something where it's in the pantheon of all time. Maybe not the worst Raider loss. Maybe, I don't know what it is, but like, that was real bad.
It was real bad, Steven, but I can remember games where they were up, they had big leads and blew it. I remember, how many Chargers games did they blow that sucked? And you can make the argument that the Chargers were a better team, but there's just been so many shitty games throughout the history of the Raiders that it just goes to show that it's just a sad thing to say, like, I've seen worse. Because that was pretty bad on Thursday night.
And Carr throws 11 yards passing in the second half. 11.
I know. Listen, it sucked, but I still do have faith in this team going forward. Here's not this season per se, but in the long-term future. I know a lot of people are going to crush Josh McDaniels for only putting 16 points up. The Rams defense has been doing well, despite the fact that their team has just been terrible. And I know they had that weird, like, sequel graphic thing about all, like, the terrible sequels in movie history, and the Rams are up there with winning the Super Bowl a year ago. They still have a pretty good run defense, and that's what kept Josh Jacobs in check. He still finished with 91 yards, but listen, you could make the argument that if they go 4 and 4th and 1 and pick up the first down, game over. We're not talking about this shit. But that's a big call to make, and that's pretty gutsy to do. Could they have gotten it? Yes, but they did stop him prior to that on 3rd and 1. This one wasn't as bad as a blunder, I thought, as the other weeks. Like, the Cardinals game I thought was terrible. The Jaguars game I thought was terrible. The Chiefs just came back and you try to go for it to, go for two, and you didn't get it in the end, and you fucked up when it was in crunch time to win that game. But as far as game, like the offensive flow, they really weren't putting that much points on the board. It was a run-controlled game. Devontae Adams made that one-handed catch, but besides that, they didn't have much offense. That's where they really missed Hunter Renfrow and Darren Waller.
Mm-hmm.
So, as far as an offensive standpoint, I don't think it was that. Yes, they should have put more points up, but it's not McDaniel's worst game. It was a little more conservative. They did kind of regress a little bit, but they still could have easily won that game if the defense makes a play. That's where I think it's the most egregious. Is Richard Sherman said it in the postgame show. It was a scout team defense. You're playing man coverage.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think that Patrick Graham will be fired next week. He could be. Who knows? I think you would, on a short, it's a longer week, but to play the New England Patriots, I think that'd be a big move to make. I don't know about his future as far as the defensive coordinator on this team going forward. That was a terrible drive.
And made even worse with Baker Mayfield saying after the game that he was surprised that they were just playing press man the whole time.
Yeah. And as for the kudos to Baker Mayfield, yeah, I get it. He got there Tuesday, and it's a great story. He didn't do shit for most of the game, honestly, though. So, yes, you could praise him for the drive, but honestly, I put it more as a blunder for the Raiders.
Yeah.
Same thing like we're looking at now, like, oh, Jeff Saturday is a great coach of the Colts. I mean, I'm saying after that first win against the Raiders. You're seeing it a little bit now with 3 losses. Not that good. Even that. Raiders lose to the interim head coach of the Colts, Jeff Saturday, earlier this year. There's so many bad things that happened this season. I'm not just willing to go, this was the worst Raider loss of all time. It could be the worst loss this season. I wouldn't even say that. I just think it was a terrible thing to happen. And hopefully we forget about it. I'll remember this game. I know you'll remember this game. But in the grand scheme of things, going forward, I'm not going to freak out and say Josh McDaniels needs to be fired over this one game. They could still have a strong finish to the rest of the season. But as far as playoffs, I think that's out the window now.
Yeah. And the worst offensive game was against the Saints. They didn't put up they didn't put up any points. So that was the worst offensive game. Jesus. Phoebe, stop. Good Lord.
Your cat.
Yeah. It's like when I sit up here and do the podcast, all of a sudden she feels like she could just get on the dinner table. Yeah, like I'm not going to sit here and argue about what the worst loss is of the season. Like that's just such a depressing conversation. The point is, though, like, these are the types of games that you should have won. Like, every single game that they lost, they should have won. That's what the good teams would have won. And the Raiders just aren't a good team. And, McDaniels, I've already, like, I don't think he's going to be fired no matter what happens. Like, Mark Davis is pretty steadfast in hiring his guy and pretty stubborn. So, and I think you need one more season to at least see what they got. But, dude, that was bad. That was real bad. And you know what? Like this Patrick Graham thing, like the Raiders defense I thought had actually been playing okay, and maybe it's not even Patrick Graham's fault. You could just look at those 2 penalties and just say like, man, Jerry Tillery just didn't knock the ball out of his hands. And this whole thing, like, no wonder the Chargers cut him. I was wondering that. I literally wondered that in the middle of the game when Tillery was making plays. Like, he made a couple of tackles for loss. And I was like, why'd the Chargers let him go? And he's actually been making plays since he got into a Raiders uniform. And then that happens. Oh, that's why. I don't know, man. I can't stand. And trust me, I was Mr. Positive through the game. Like, I really was until the very last drive. I was like, even 98 yards to go. Pfft, no way. Come on.
Yeah. That was kind of shock to everybody. And it's crazy that the same thing happened where Jeff McDaniels could have gone for it on 4th and 1. And I felt better about it last week, even though they had a minute and I think 45 left for the Rams.
Mm-hmm.
They're down at the 2. It's going to be hard for them to score that, go that length of the field and score, but
especially with the way that they were playing earlier in the game. Like,
I know,
I'm sitting there going, this Rams team is not going to score more than 6 points. So even after that interception, I was thinking in the second half, Like this team's not going to be even able to put up 10, like let alone 13. So they could hold with this score right now. Turns out I was wrong.
Yeah, but I'm not ready to say that this is a failure. I mean, this season is a failure, but as far as the Josh McDaniel hire, I think that, like I said in weeks past, they just need time to grow, and it sucks because you saw their coaches in their first year and they're playing well, but yeah, it's disappointing. But I'm not ready to say that they need to fire Josh McDaniels. Let's see
If
how they play the rest of the season.
if anyone can find, if there's like a, I don't know, if there's like a hot head coaching hot shot, who's an offensive genius, who's the secret to these good teams. I don't know whether it's like Brian Daboll with the Bills. It was always like, oh, Brian Daboll as an offensive coordinator, he's gonna be so good. I don't know, like Kellen Moore might be that guy, but we don't know if Kellen Moore can be a head coach. Like no one said that. No one's really talked about Kellen Moore being a head coach, really. Mike McDaniel, from the Niners, like he was kind of destined to be one. I don't know, unless there's that like really hot coaching prospect, kind of like a number 1 overall pick. Phoebe, stop playing with the ornaments.
Phoebe,
Kinda
stop.
Kind of like I need a spray bottle. Kind of like with the number 1 overall pick. It's like always tank for the draft pick. Well, if they lose out here, what if they can get one of these hot coaching prospects? It's just like that's probably not going to happen. So, Jesus. Okay, I'm sorry. Hang on. She knocked one off.
Do your thing.
This is a terrible week.
Between Aaron Judge and this now?
Aaron Judge, England. Last night's UFC main event ended in a draw. Actually, the Warriors did okay, but yeah, just not a good week.
Yeah, I mean for Bay Area sports wise, but I guess Raiders aren't in the Bay Area, and I want to bring that up too. It seemed to me that Niner fans got a lot of glee from what happened Thursday night. Did you notice that too, Steven?
No, I didn't go on social media.
Good for you, because I don't know, like after a bad Raider loss, just the Niner fans come out the woodwork, man.
Yeah, well, it's how every fan base is, though. With the Raider, everybody with the Raider loss comes out of the woodwork.
But
that's what happens when they're on these primetime games, man. It's like all eyes are on them.
I get that, but this feels like more vitriol from the 49er fan base. And I asked, like, I don't know, like I never really thought there was a rivalry. There is media-wise, but why do Niner fans hate the Raiders? I never really understood that.
Oh, there's a rivalry, man. Oh yeah.
There is and there isn't.
No, I mean, like, I don't know.
But why should they care?
Because now I don't know, but
exactly.
I mean, originally, like, I remember growing up in school, it was like, at least in high school and stuff, it was, and through my time in college, although I appeared to be like the only Raider fan at Chico State, but it appeared to be like a lot of that Raider versus 49er fan, like, dude, if the Niners win and the Raiders lose, Niner fans rejoice at school. If the Raiders win, the Niners lose, then Raider fans go nuts. I don't know. There was always that sense of a rivalry, I guess.
Yeah, I guess, but I don't know. Just rubbed me the wrong way on Thursday. You got tweets from a lot of prominent Bay Area media people just being like, "Oh, another Raider loss." Like, shut up. I don't know why I get offended, because I don't care anymore.
Yeah, you're talking like somebody who cares, Derek. I was going to say.
I just thought that was gone in the Bay Area, but I guess it still stays.
Yeah.
Regardless.
It's still around. It's still around. But, the Raiders are an easy punching bag.
I guess, yeah.
They are. It's just nonstop. It's every season. Like, I don't know. There's a certain way the Chargers lose. There's a certain way that the Raiders lose. And as Ernie says, it's social media. That's what it is.
The root of all of our problems.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, Steven, bad loss, not the worst loss of all time, in my opinion. They could easily beat the Patriots next week. Let's see what happens when Darren Waller and Hunter Renfrow come back. If they have a strong end to the season, I'll feel good about things going forward. I don't know about Patrick Graham. I still think Derek Carr is going to be the quarterback of this team. Um, and yeah, I think good things are going to come from Josh McDaniels. It's just a matter of figuring out what's the best thing going forward. Do they need to regroup the whole defense? Do they? I don't know. I mean that's the thing in my book is the defense is just it plays well at times. Matt Crosby's probably going to be an All Pro, but they need to learn how to win.
Right.
They had a winning
Yeah.
season a year ago, went to the playoffs, but they haven't had the consistency of winning, and they are just used to giving away games. They need to learn how to win and do it on a consistent basis.
Yeah, for sure. And as far as the defense, dude, I don't know what really they have in the secondary outside of Nate Hobbs. It appears the Rock Ya-Sin experiment, like he wasn't even playing in last game because I think he's on IR. But the Rock Ya-Sin experiment, when he was in, that hasn't worked. You know, Amik Robertson, he makes plays, but you know, as far as just like as a cornerback, you can't just make one play, one pass breakup, and then you know that makes up for everything. You know, it's got to be consistent. Nate Hobbs is obviously great, but other than that, you know, they need to make some additions. And also you need one draft, I think, to one draft to assess like what McDaniels and Ziegler's like, because you start with a third rounder, you know, Dylan Parham, like that's
Dylan Barnum
like that's
from Mississippi.
he's, you know, he's okay, I guess, but you can't really assess a GM and a head coach based off of their first pick being a third rounder.
Yeah.
So I want to see another draft from them, but you know, the rest of the season, the rest of the way, kind of stinks. Kind of stinks.
It does, and it goes back to our expectations at the beginning of the season. So it goes
Mm.
from, beginning of the year expectations to the disappointment of them starting 2-7 to then mid-year expectations when they get on a roll, 3-game winning streak. And let's be honest, the 3-game winning streak, it was good. They beat. It started with the Broncos. Then they beat the Seahawks, a good team, and then they beat the Chargers, pretty good team. And then you go back to what you were before. So it's disappointing all the way around. They have made strides. They were just seconds away from winning that game. So I think things will be okay for the future, but it is, to put it lightly, a kick in the dick, I would say.
Yeah, man. Well, this is just, this is what being a sports fan is too. Just in general, like, it's fun to watch other teams or whatever, but when it's your team, it's
Oh, yeah.
it's
It's
more
devastating.
it's more often than not going to end in disappointment. Like, it always, there's only one team that could come out on top, so it's more often than not going to come out with disappointment anyway. Like,
Yeah.
the Bills. Like, what if Bills fans have to go through what they went through? 4 straight Super Bowls, don't win a single one. 49er fans are still waiting for their championship since 94, but then you have seasons like this where it's not even comparable. Like, this team's not even going to make the playoffs. I don't know. It's just like years past.
It sucks, and I found myself in disbelief once that game was over. I was like, God damn, they lost that game. I can't believe it. But kind of goes with the flow of the season. They have lost 4 games where they have had a 13-point lead, and of course, they lost 3 games with a 17-point lead. So it's on coaching, no doubt. I still think Josh McDaniels can do a good job. He will probably have a short leash next season. Don't know about Patrick Graham's future, but like I said before, they just need to learn how to win and start doing it. Anyway, moving on to the 49ers. And they play the Tampa Bay Buccaneers today, where Tom Brady will come home for only the second time in his career. Do you consider Tom Brady a Bay Area guy?
Yeah.
Like, but it's like last night, the Warriors play the Celtics, and Bill Russell is honored because he's a Bay Area guy, and he also played for the Celtics. And his number 6 jersey hangs in the Warriors rafters because
Right.
He's a Bay Area guy. I don't think of Tom Brady in the same way. Obviously, it's very different. But whenever we think of Tom, like people that came from the Bay Area, and yes, he did call. He did say San Fran the other day. I did notice that too, and I was like, ugh, it's not something a Bay Area guy would say. But nevertheless, Tom Brady comes home today for only the second time in his career. He played the 49ers in 2016 at Levi's. Never played a candlestick, surprisingly. But he's back, and he's facing Brock Purdy, who's making his first career start. And the other quarterbacks that Tom Brady has played in their first career starts are Luke McCown, Matt Flynn, Tyler Palko, Jake Locker, EJ Manuel, Luke Fickle, and today, Brock Purdy. And I don't think any of those other What's up?
You never played at Candlestick?
Nope, never.
Oh.
Never
How
did.
about that?
Yep. The only time he would have was in 2008, and it was Matt Castle because Tom Brady tore his ACL.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So interesting matchup today, and I don't think any of those other 6 quarterbacks that Tom Brady faced in their first career starts have the defense that the 49ers have. So that's the matchup today, 49ers versus the Buccaneers. And I would say, Steven, even with the QB situation with Brock Purdy, I think the most favorable matchup is the Niners defense against this subpar Bucs offense.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. The Buccaneers offense has just looked putrid through this season. They have looked like they haven't figured anything out. I mean, that, the lasting memory of that Saints Buccaneers game is Tom Brady throwing the touchdown pass. But I mean,
maybe to you, Mark Ingram stepping out of bounds at 2-1.
There's also that one. But the other one that I'm going to remember too is throughout that game, there was that thing on the sideline. Like we've seen Tom Brady, throw tirades before. It's not the first time we've ever seen it, but like, stop it. Jesus, just go away. Sorry. Gotta do something.
That darn cat, man.
That darn cat. Dougie Doug.
Dougie Doug.
Nuts. The tirade that he was going on the sideline, it wasn't like a way to pump his team up. It looked like just a tirade of just, hey, we suck. And this is just it. I can't play with this team anymore. This offense has not been able to figure it out all year long. The 49ers defense is just going to feast, I think. Their offensive line has had issues too, and that's really the 49ers bread and butter. Is that's when it's Thanksgiving for the 49ers defense, is when they feast on an offensive line that appears to be hurt / average. Yeah.
You're happy with that one, huh?
No.
Were you sitting on that for once? Like, it's Thanksgiving for the 49ers to eat, baby.
Yeah, I don't know. I just thought of it right now. Terrible. Thanksgiving is like 3 weeks ago. But no, man. Like, this is just prime for them just to go off. It feels like if Brock Purdy and the 49ers offense can put up, I don't know, like 2 touchdowns and a field goal, or even like a touchdown and 3 field goals, it feels like they'll be able to win this game. So,
but how likely do you think that is? Like, I understand Brock Purdy looked good last week, but the Dolphins were not really prepared. I mean, isn't that weird though? Like in the NFL, like they were more prepared for Jimmy Garoppolo and they weren't prepared for a lesser quarterback.
Right.
But they did they put A in the box to stop the run. And Brock Purdy, say what you will about him being, Mr. Irrelevant, but he made the team. He showed some things in preseason. He has good command of the offense. Dante Whitner even said last week that he thought he had more command of the offense than Trey Lance did.
Just to also kind of build on that point with them not being ready for Brock and Jimmy. Well, him and Jimmy are essentially the same player, except the difference is Brock can run outside the tackle box.
Yep.
like that Dolphins defense was bringing the pressure, but they were doing it within the tackle box.
Yeah.
Like they weren't ready for a quarterback who can maybe just roll outside And and I think it caught him by surprise a little bit, especially the secondary when he made those throws, because some of them I know a lot of people were heaping praise on him, and rightfully so. He did very well, but man, some of those balls, I know they were fit into very tight windows, but man, if you continue to try to make those throws, like those are balls that are going to be intercepted at some point. And so I'm not trying to take anything away from what he did, but there are a couple of moments in there where it's like he converted the third down, but sheesh, that was real risky. I don't know if that's that's kind of a thing like where Steve Kerr, right? Where he, where he sees a three that Steph Curry or Klay Thompson takes, you see him lift his hands up, and then when they make it, there's nothing you can do. I feel like Kyle Shanahan had a couple of those moments in that game.
Yeah, especially on the touchdown throw to Kyle Juszczyk, he kind of just did like a bootleg out and caught him there. But yeah, I mean, like it's also a favorable matchup for the Bucs defense going up against a quarterback making his first career start. So it's going to be interesting. Tom Brady, the age gap in this matchup is funny. It may be bigger than the one last year that Tom Brady had against Mac Jones, which I think is the widest age gap between two starting quarterbacks.
Yeah. Well, I mean, come on, man. What was it? 4 days? 4 days. He was born 4 days before like Tom Brady's last game at Michigan.
Yeah,
that's crazy, man.
I know. But yeah, and it'll be interesting to see what happens for the future. I know I brought it up last podcast where if Brock Purdy has more playing experience than Trey Lance going into next season. But then there's the elephant in the room of Tom Brady being a free agent next season, and all options are on the table. And Kyle Shanahan was asked about in 2019 where they passed on Tom Brady, and does he regret that at all? Would he want to make his last stand in the Bay Area where he always wanted to be a 49er? And even Tom Brady said this week, like, I grew up loving the got these wings.
Oh, geez. Yeah. You all right?
No, I'm good. The mustard's actually not bad. It actually helps coat the heat from the fire wings.
So, yeah. So something that was meant to be a punishment, you helped yourself.
Yes, if you want to put it that way. But I thought I'd try out the mustard, Steven, if it was nasty or not. And actually, it's actually pretty good on the wings.
Good.
So this is not much of a punishment. But I owe you 4 punishments, so this is my way of doing it. And then, it is kind of punishment because later on, you never know what happens with my stomach.
Well, so I got plenty of boxes around here. So,
You love the box idea. Steven, the box idea was good for one time and one time only.
It's the most talked about episode we've ever had.
You're probably right. But as far as Tom Brady, he says that he was a 49er fan and then he stopped being a 49er fan after they passed on him 6 times. I guess 7 times, including free agency. So we'll see what happens this offseason. Of course, he has the option also to go into broadcasting if he chooses. But
see, that's you bring up a point, man. Like I was thinking that after he said the comment where he's like, they passed up on me 6 times. How about I don't
7.
know. How about the Seth Wickersham book where they said, hey, we watched literally every snap of Garoppolo and you, and we decided we're going to choose Garoppolo over you in 2020. Like, does that, I have a feeling that he may have said, well, I don't like him for that, but I have a feeling that little snippet, that little excerpt from the Seth Wickersham book might have increased that hatred a little bit more.
Probably. But you do remember at the time he was kind of fading towards that season.
Yeah.
A lot of people thought he was hurt.
It was that last throw that he made of the year, just a complete duck. And I was like, there's like no one thought that he was going to come back in 2020 with the arm strength that he had. I remember saying that in 2019 too. I'm like, when everyone was of course, when I was at the game and we were doing the sports radio bit on it, when that excerpt came out, of course, everyone's pissed because it's like, how can you pass up on the greatest of all time? And I'm like, whoa. During the 2019 season, that's when everyone thought, okay, this dude's, over 40 years old. His arm appears to be, on the downturn of his career. It's just like, I wasn't shocked that they decided to go with Garoppolo over him at that time. And I'm actually still not going to be convinced that he would have had the same career because the 49ers offensive line was not nearly the same as it was. And, if they would have signed Tom Brady, would they have been able to have the money to sign Trent Williams? I don't know. Yeah,
that was the same offseason.
Yeah.
Good question. I don't know.
That's a question no one's really going to know the answer to. And quite frankly, I think they went with the better option.
I mean, at the time, it made sense just because Jimmy Garoppolo was coming off of a Super Bowl.
Right.
And it's tough to make that move. Also, the Niners weren't alone. The Titans passed on them after going to the AFC Championship game, and they felt comfortable with Ryan Tannehill. The Raiders were comfortable with Derek Carr.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It was a mistake on 3 franchises. I guess the only team that passed on him, I think that made the best move, was probably the Chargers.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'd rather have Justin Herbert at this point.
Right. Right. And he's one of the best in the NFL. So.
All right. Let's pick some of these games.
Oh, God. All right. Yep.
For Week 14 edition of Wins, or what I got in front of me, Wings. All right. Here we go, Steven. I was on a 4-game losing streak until last week, where I beat you, and I actually did pretty well.
Yeah.
Got every game right as far as who wins and who lost, except for that damn tie. And I still don't think ties should be a thing. But regardless, let's move on to this week. The Houston Texans take on the Dallas Cowboys. And the Cowboys are a whopping 17.5-point favorites after putting up 50 on the Colts a week ago. And the over-under is 44 points. Steven?
Oh, man. I am so inclined to have the Texans cover, but I'm not. You know what? I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to be terrified of that number. I'm going to lay the points with the Cowboys, and I'm going to take the over in that game. That's what I'm going to do.
17's a lot of points, and despite the Texans being the worst team in football at the current moment, I still think that they could put up a fight. They did against the Dolphins a couple weeks ago where they were down by 30 but then put up some garbage time points. I still think they could do that today. So I'm going to take the Cowboys to win. I'm going to take the Texans to cover, but I will go with the over.
Good call.
Hang on to that cat. Jags at the... Oh, okay. You got a problem with your shoe?
Huh?
Your shoe okay?
Shoelace might be done.
Oh, sorry. Jags at the Titans. Titans are 3-point favorites, and the over-under is 41.5.
You go first. I want to see what you have to say with this one. This is an
one's
interesting
easy.
game.
Titans are on a 2-game losing streak. I take them to win. 3 points. I'm going to lay the points, but I do think this is going to be under a game with Trevor Lawrence playing, but he is a little banged up.
Yeah, I think the Titans are going to try and Titans are going to try and come back. And yeah, I thought when I saw that hit on Lawrence last week, I thought he was done. I thought that was like I thought not an ACL because the ACL is like in the back, or the front rather. Yeah, it might have been the ACL actually, or like a meniscus or something, because like your knee's not supposed to bend that way. I was shocked that he came back into the game. But yeah, I'm going to lay the points with the Titans. I actually think they roll over the Jaguars today, and give me the over on that one. I'm too afraid to take the under at with the total of 41. It just feels too low.
Alrighty. Then we got the Cleveland Browns going to Cincinnati. Joe Burrow never has beaten the Browns. So it's Joe Burrow versus Deshaun Watson today, and the Bengals are 4-point favorites, and the over-under is 46.5.
This is a really tough one because it's kind of riding on, it's obviously depending on Deshaun Watson and what he looks like. He looked terrible in that last game against the Texans. This Bengals defense is far better. So I'm feeling pretty good in laying the points with the Bengals, especially with the way the Bengals are rolling. They're one of the best teams in the NFL right now. And the over-under 47, I think that's a pretty high number, actually. So I'm going to take the under on that. I think it's going to be I really do think it's going to be an onslaught by the Bengals, to be honest. The Browns they haven't really looked that good all season, Like the fact that they're even... It should have been a conversation that Jacoby Brissett should have possibly started the rest of the way. But because of their record, I feel like the Browns just felt, you know what, we're not even going to make the playoffs. No point. Let's just go with Deshaun the rest of the way. So yeah, I'm going to take the under, and I'm going to lay the points with the Bengals.
Well, the amount of capital they gave up to get Deshaun Watson, I understand why they're going with him. But
there's also that.
I do understand that Jacoby Brissett is more likable and has looked better. So, but regardless, as far as this game, I think it's time for Joe Burrow to finally beat the Browns. I think I'm going to take the Bengals to win. I'm going to lay the points. And even though Deshaun Watson didn't look good last week, I think they could come up with enough garbage time touchdowns, so I'm going to take the over.
Dude, if Burrow doesn't beat the Browns today, that's going to be one of the strangest, like, winless.
The worst Bengals loss of all time.
No, but it's going to be one of the weirdest, like, winless streaks for a quarterback. You can't beat the Browns? Like, what?
Yeah. I think he gets it done today, though. Because he's playing out of his mind. I think the last few games, he's 14 touchdowns and 0 interceptions.
Yeah, his mojo's so dope.
What is that?
His mojo is so dope.
Ravens.
Kid Cudi, Derek.
Yeah, whatever. Ravens. Without
Where will
Lamar
you be for
Jackson.
the Revolution?
Excuse me?
Where will you be for the Revolution?
Well, the Revolution will be televised, so I'll be watching it on my TV.
Listen here, Mr. Rager, okay? Tell me where you're going. Tell us where you're headed with this picking thing.
Make sure you got the cat situated, Steven. Baltimore playing the Pittsburgh Steelers without Lamar Jackson. Tyler Huntley gets to start today for the Ravens, as the Steelers are 2-point favorites and the over-under is 36.5.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised that the Steelers are like. I'm kind of surprised that the Steelers are like that. Why is that number that low? You know, like doesn't 2 points?
You want it
feel
to be
low?
higher?
I don't know. I guess it's just because the Ravens are that good. Maybe they're not taking the quarterback into account when they're putting that point spread up there. Someone made an interesting point too. Well, first off, I'll just say I'll lay the points with the Steelers. I think they're going to win this game for sure. Tyler Huntley's not that good, and I'll take the under there because I don't think the Ravens are going to score very many. And then the Steelers, it's going to be an interesting one because I think someone said this, and I'm really looking forward to it. I love watching Steelers-Ravens games, first of all. There's always something different when it comes to those two. But they said that this is going to be the first, because they've already played each other, right? They played each other
No, first time this season.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah, so this is going to be the first time that we'll see George Pickens up against Marlon Humphrey, and I think George Pickens is a lot of fun to watch. So just watching a rookie wide receiver who is kind of cocky, you know? He's got that confidence about
wants
him.
the damn ball, apparently.
And then you got Marlon Humphrey, who's one of the better quarterbacks in the game. I'm really looking forward to that matchup. But yeah, lay the points with the Steelers and take the under.
This is no disrespect to Lamar Jackson, but I don't see a big drop-off from him to Tyler Huntley, to be completely honest. They run the same.
That's a pretty big disrespect to Lamar Jackson.
Listen, I understand Lamar Jackson is an MVP, and he was doing a better job passing this season. I give him respect to that. But as far as the style of offense and what they bring, I still think Tyler Huntley could do a serviceable job. He did last year when I think Lamar Jackson missed like 5 games towards the end of the season. So
yeah, it's not like Lamar Jackson's rookie year where it's like the guy backing him up would be Joe Flacco. And you got a complete statue back there. Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
Joe Flacco did look good this year against the Browns, though. If you remember,
he did.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the Ravens to win. I still think the Ravens can. I mean, they got to be competitive in this AFC North that they still have a chance in against the Bengals. Yeah. So I'm going to take the Ravens to win, even with their defense or even with the QB situation. But I think their defense can especially against a rookie quarterback in Kenny Pickett. So I'm going to take the Ravens to win, but I am going to go with the under today.
Interesting. If the Steelers win, man, and if for the Bengals, that would be just, the soundtrack to Joe Burrow's life.
Any particular music there? Or?
Yeah, it's Soundtrack to My Life by Kid Cudi,
Oh, good Lord. Like, what's with you and the references today?
It's Kid Cudi.
All right.
Joe Burrow.
I'm lost, Steve, and I guess you can just call me a man on the moon.
Nice.
All right, that's the last one for me.
Go!
All right. Minnesota at the Lions. Yeah, thank you.
Joel's one of the biggest Kid Cudi fans I know. He's like, stop.
This one's surprising. So Minnesota at Detroit, and the 10-win Vikings are underdogs today to the 5-7 Lions. The Lions are 2.5-point favorites. The over-under is at 51.5. When Dan Campbell was asked about being favorites this week, his response was, "Well, it's not like we could bet on the game." Fantastic quote. Where are you going, Steven?
Do you remember the last time we questioned this? Like, what was the last one we did where it was the Vikings? They were going up against somebody, and they were just like 2.5-point favorites.
The Cowboys, and they kicked their ass.
Right. So I feel like there's a reason why Vegas. Like, is there a matchup type thing that they're seeing.
The secondary for the Vikings is not great.
Well, okay. So number one, give me the over, because even no matter how big the number is, I told you, I'm not betting any unders games with the Lions, like especially when they have DeAndre Swift. Jamal Williams, by the way, we haven't talked about him at all really on this podcast, but the fact that he's having a LeGarrette Blunt type season is fantastic. I love that Jamal Williams is that dude.
Good comparison. And by the way, didn't you call me out for drafting him in fantasy?
I didn't call you out. I just said you're doing the Hard Knocks thing.
I just thought he'd be a good goal line back, and sure enough, he's leading the league in touchdown runs.
He's killing it right now. I didn't make fun of you for it. I just said there he is with the Hard Knocks pick.
Yeah, but you made fun of me for Marcus Colston, or not Marcus Colston, Jesus, for Michael Thomas.
Yeah, that was one, and
he
pretty
apparently that toe
right?
of his. Yeah, now it is. Anyway,
dude. By the way, my fantasy teams are just going downhill. I have lost like every single game for the past 4 weeks in every one of my leagues.
Ooh.
Yeah. So right now I'm like out of playoff contention almost for all of them, depending on how it goes today. I'm really nervous for that in terms of fantasy. Where was I? What were we going with?
Minnesota and the Lions.
That's right. Yeah. I'll lay the points with Minnesota, but I'll take the over.
All right. Sorry. So you're going with Minnesota and you're laying the points.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, well, Minnesota's the dog, so you don't need to lay the points.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. So, take Minnesota to win.
I'm going to take the Lions to win, actually. I think that they're playing good football, and this was a close matchup last time these two teams played. So I'm going to take the Lions to win. I'm going to take the points.
Nice.
And I'm going to go over. Then we got the New York Jets with Mike White going to the Buffalo Bills, and the Bills are 10-point favorites. I want to say they were 10-point favorites the last time these two teams played, and the Jets won. And the over-under is 43 points.
Yeah. The only thing is, like, I think that I think the Bills, they've started to get a little more healthy in the secondary, if I'm not mistaken. They did lose out on Von Miller, which is going to suck.
Yeah.
But I actually think this is going to be a defensive game, believe it or not. I think the Jets can stifle the Bills. I'm going to take the Jets to cover. I'm going to take the Bills to win. And I am also going to go with give me the under.
I'm going to lay the points with the Bills and take them to win just because the Bills have had 10 days to prepare for this game.
Good point.
And their offense is getting a little more of a groove lately. They're finding the running game with James Cook. They couldn't run the ball at all last time they played the Jets. Josh Allen was the leading rusher. So I think they need to start running the football a little bit more. They are going to miss Von Miller, but I don't know how Mike White's going to do in the cold and it probably snow a little bit today. Maybe not the extent that was a couple weeks ago, obviously. But it's going to be cold. And yeah, I'm going to take the Buffalo Bills to lay the points, and I'm going to take the under in that game because I see the Bills defense stifling Mike White.
Oh, there you go.
Then we got the Philadelphia Eagles going to the New York Giants. The Giants are in a skid. They've lost 2 games and tied last week. And the Eagles, coming off a huge win over the Titans, they are 7-point favorites, and the over-under is 44.5. Saquon Barkley will play today.
Yeah, man, I just... like, it's so hard to even bet against the Eagles right now. I'm going to lay the points with the Eagles. I think they're just really, for lack of a better term, I think they're flying right now.
Is that a Kid Cudi reference?
No,
Oh, okay.
That's just a, Eagles fly. Fly Eagles
I
fly.
see now. I see.
And then, I'm going to lay the points with them, and I'll take the over.
I'm going
I
to
think
take...
I think they're going to score that many points. I know I probably should take the under, but I just feel like it's an over game. I think I've taken the over almost in every game.
I like that under. I like that under today, and I'm taking the Eagles to win, but I am going to take the Giants to cover.
Interesting.
All right. Then we got Carolina going to Seattle, and this seems low to me. The Seahawks are 3.5-point favorites, and the over-under is 44.5 with Sam Darnold at quarterback for the Panthers today.
Yeah, that's a weird one. I don't know. Like, what was it? Like, hang on. You go first. I want to see what this last matchup is.
I'm going to take the Seahawks to win. I'm going to lay the points, and I'm going to go under because I don't see a lot of offense coming from the Panthers.
Yeah, Seahawks are coming off of some pretty bad games, and that's probably why the number's so low. Yeah, I'm going to lay the points, and I'll take the over on that one as well.
I'm going under, but if you want to go over, by all means.
I'm going over.
All right then. Chiefs at the Broncos. The Chiefs are 5.5-point favorites, and the over/under is 44.
Chiefs are what point favorites?
Sorry, 8.5. 8.5.
Yeah, I was gonna say like what? I was looking at. I got +9 here is where I got the Broncos. Yeah, I don't think that. I mean, what are we supposed to do with the Broncos? I'm gonna take the under first of all, and I'm gonna lay the points with the Chiefs.
I'm going the same exact way.
Feels like that's like the best bet you can make if you're gonna like bet on one game, just whichever Broncos game it is. Just lay the points with the favorite and then take the under.
And now things get interesting. Tampa Bay at San Francisco. The over/under is 37, lowest of any game this week. And actually, that's not true. Baltimore and Pittsburgh is lower. Never mind that. But the point spread has Brock Purdy and the Niners at 3.5. Steven, who you got in this game, first of all?
Yeah, I'll lay the points with the Niners. I think they'll win. Actually, no, I'm not going to lay the points. I'll take the Niners to win. I'll take the Bucks to cover because 3.5 is like right there where maybe they can win by a field goal. And I am going to take the under in this one. I'm not scared to take the under on 37.5.
There wouldn't be much of a bet there considering the situation, so I wouldn't say you were scared.
Good point.
Yeah, this game is extremely tough considering the situation with Brock Purdy making his first career start, and the Bucks coming off a short week. And they're
also raining.
It is going to rain today, and God, don't you love football when it rains? Just
It is
watching in
raining.
your
I'm
house.
looking outside right now.
It's going to rain. It's going to rain.
It's going to rain.
Nothing better than watching football on a Sunday while it's raining outside. It's just so cozy, as I put it.
We go to Holly Williams. It's raining sideways.
Exactly. I am going to take the Niners to win. I just think that Brock Purdy can make a few plays to give them enough points. It's going to be a close game. 3.5. It could be a field goal game, but I don't think it will. I'm going to lay the points, and I'm going to go under. There you go. And then we got the Sunday night game. Miami Dolphins against the Chargers. The Chargers have a ton of guys out on the defensive side of the football. The Dolphins are 3-point favorites, and the over/under is 54.5.
Damn, that's so crazy. Yeah, I'll lay the points with the Dolphins, and I will take the under. That 55 is a very high number. I'll take the under on that.
It is, but I can't see Justin Herbert laying down in a situation where he is the better quarterback. I don't care what Emmanuel Acho says all over Twitter. Justin Herbert's a better quarterback than Tua. And I think he's going to prove it tonight. So I'm taking the Chargers to win. And I'm going over. Take that.
Is he going off on Twitter about that too?
Yeah, he says that Justin Herbert's just a social media quarterback.
So he's the one that came up with that term, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love him. Went to UT, but he's crazy.
Yeah. I just I don't think I follow him.
Yeah.
I kind of got tired of it after a while.
I agree with you there. And finally, the New England Patriots. God, we get the Cardinals on Monday Night Football again. Patriots at the Cardinals. Patriots are 1.5-point favorites, and the over/under is 43.5.
This is Hopkins is going to be playing. I know that. This is a really I would stay away from this game if I was actually betting. But you know what? I think the Patriots. I think they take this one. I'm gonna go with the Patriots to win. And what are they? What point favorites are they?
1.5.
Yeah, 1.5. I'll lay the points with the Patriots, and I'll take the under in this game.
I'll do the same, except I'll go over. So there you go. All right. Those are our picks for this week.
Oh, gosh.
Steven, a few little more topics I'd like to get to before we get out of here.
What's that?
If you could kill the music. I went to a bar with my buddy the other day to watch England and France. And
The other day,
the Athletic Club.
yesterday.
Yes. Depending on when you're listening to this podcast, which, assuming that you're, don't want this to be dated and everything for Sunday football, you probably listen to it right now. So I went to the Athletic Club with a buddy of mine to go watch England and France.
Mhm.
And, man, Athletic Club goes all out for soccer, as does the rest of the world. But, yeah, way more packed than I've excuse me, seen it for NFL Sundays, and it was a fun experience to watch the soccer match. And yeah, tough break for old England. I'll
Mhm.
give you the floor, sir, to discuss the game.
No, it's sucked. I was on an emotional roller coaster. Like I was exhausted emotionally after that game. Um, but in the end, this is what the World Cup is, man. It's so hard to win in the World Cup every year, and they're going up against the best team in France. Like they neutralized Kylian Mbappe, like no other team has. They didn't let him do anything. I just looked at his expected goals, which anyone who likes analytics would love in soccer. But his expected goals was at 0.03, which is just terrible for a guy like Mbappe. Like those numbers are supposed to go above the decimal. You could have like over 1, and they put him at 0.03. So they did an unbelievable job on him. If not for a world-class goal in the first half, I mean, England just, to me, dominated that game, absolutely deserved to win that game. And you know what? On that goal, if there was a foul called, which there should have been on Saka, deep in France's territory, which there wasn't, which led to the counterattack by France, who were able to capitalize on it, they would have won that game. And it's just brutal that it wasn't like a game in the group stage. And as opposed to years past, as opposed to years past, like they looked like the better team, and they just came out, losing. That's all I can ask for, at least, because the problem with those English teams previously, prior to 2018, was just how terrible they always looked in the knockout stages. Like they didn't even look competitive. Like they shouldn't have been out there. Whereas this team, what they've done since 2018, getting to the semifinal of the World Cup there, getting to the final of the Euros and losing on PKs, and then losing in the quarterfinal when, it just so happened on a penalty kick, you miss it. He should have made that one for sure. But it's also really tough. He's going up against his longtime teammate. Him and the Francis goalie have been teammates on Tottenham forever. So, I do want to blame Harry Kane a little bit. He should have made that kick, but look, man, they had plenty of opportunities, and they wouldn't have been in the situation they're in without Harry Kane in the first place. So not going to blame him the entire way. I think the refs did stink in that game, but I also thought it kind of went both ways. So, what can you do?
And he would have tied Wayne Rooney on that goal, that PK, right?
No, he tied Wayne
Oh, sorry.
Rooney. He
He
tied
would've
Wayne
passed
Rooney
him.
on the
He
first
would've
one.
passed
Yeah.
him.
Yeah, but also Wayne Rooney had never scored a goal in the knockout stages. So, like, yeah, I mean, at least he did that.
Yeah. Why did David Beckham dress like he was going to a funeral?
That's how he always does. Don't you dare question how David Beckham dresses, okay?
Oh, wow. Sorry, I touched a nerve here with God. Don't talk about Kid Cudi and David Beckham with Steven.
No, you can talk about Kid Cudi all you want, but don't you dare make fun of David Beckham and
All
his
right,
attire.
I'll never bend it.
That man's a god. Dude, that penalty kick at the end. Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
Like,
a little high, a tad high, I'd say.
yeah, that was it's just so funny too when they're like, I love how the directors were cutting to David Beckham because he had one of the greatest moments in football history, football. He had one of the greatest moments in England's history where in the knockout stages, in the round of 16, he kicked a free kick against Greece that led them to the quarterfinal. And it's one of the greatest moments like ever. I thought we were going to see another one. I was sitting there like, oh my God, we're about to see an iconic free kick right now. Come on, Rashford. And he made one earlier against Wales, essentially in the same spot. And it's like, oh my God. But yeah, man, that game.
Well,
I love this game. I love the World Cup.
yeah, just I bet it was hard for a lot of. I mean, I have a buddy who's also an England fan, and yeah, yesterday was hard, especially when Stone just stays on the pitch for too long and just milks it. Good Lord, man.
If that's what you want to look at, then fine.
No, here's my thing. I understand what's his name? Last name Stone.
John Stones.
John Stones. He's got some stones. That's a great name. John Stones was hurt. Believe me, I get it. But also in soccer, this was explained to me yesterday, the extra time really doesn't play a factor. It's when the refs feel like the game is like good to go and over.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Why?
Because I don't know, like a game that's been, determined by time for most of the game, and then you're just like, oh, it's over by this point. It feels weird to me.
Yeah, yeah, but I mean, the extra time is given, and they have, they had 8 minutes to go, and they just
8 minutes and
determined,
then some.
yeah, but but they determined that the Stones injury let them get a little bit more time.
Well, that is a factor, but also when you're running out of time, I just thought at some point one of the players should have been like, all right, we got to pick him up and get him off the pitch because he's taking too much time here.
Yeah, it could have been an option, but I don't know. I think the teammates probably saw how much pain he was in, and
I
yeah,
understand that, Steven, but I always remember, and you want to talk about great things in history, the 99 Rams. Oz Hakeem was hurt on the field, and this is back in the NFL where if you didn't have a timeout, you couldn't do an injury timeout. So they were letting time run off the clock, and Marshall Faulk just picked him up and said, just stand right here. Then they spiked the ball and said, now get off the field. Someone should have picked up Stones.
okay, but he spiked the ball and stopped the clock.
At that point, someone just needs to. All right, you carry the feet, I'll carry the head, and we throw him off the pitch.
If he could, if they needed to maneuver him just to stand in this one spot the entire time, then yes, I would agree with you. But they needed to take him all the way off the field.
Is England fans should be looking at Stones for wasting time.
Of course.
In all seriousness, the night before the match, a devastating and crazy story about Grant Wall,
Yeah.
who was a journalist who covered the World Cup, covered college basketball. I know of him from his Sports Illustrated days, where he did a full article on LeBron James when he was coming out of high school. He is dead, and this is weeks before where he went to, I want to say, the first match of the World Cup.
It was England and Wales.
England and Wales.
Or no, England. Yeah, England and Wales. I think it was England and Wales.
Where he wore a gay pride shirt to support his brother.
Sorry, U.S. Wales. I apologize.
Okay.
U.S. and Wales.
He was wearing a gay pride shirt to support his brother and was not allowed into the stadium. And then, he got death threats, and he complained about bronchitis, I guess. And people can wait till, the facts come out, but to me, it sounds as if Grant Wall was murdered while he was covering the World Cup in Qatar, and that is just a devastating thing.
Yeah, it's I was in disbelief when I saw that. Just in a little state of shock, to be honest, because he's the premier soccer guy out here.
Yeah.
Like he is. Like, I mean, lately, he was one of the premier Sports Illustrated guys, like you said. The amount of somebody tweeted out like the cover stories that he did when the Sports Illustrated magazine cover was like heralded among sports. Like he had the LeBron one. He also did one on like John Wall at Kentucky.
Yep.
There are a couple others that I'm forgetting. But seeing that news, man, it's just like I'm watching. I'm like, what? Are you serious? And then, but this just goes to show like the Qatar World Cup already. It's the way that it was, the way that the stadiums were built, on the backs of workers who ended up dying because they're working in 120-degree heat, something they wanted to avoid with the players. That's why they moved it to this time, because you can't play a soccer game in Qatar. The fact that it was more likely than not paid for in order to have happen. If you look back at 2012, when they did the revealing of who's going to be the 2022 World Cup, Qatar was that World Cup. Same thing with Russia too, just with how corrupt everything is. And then you go to a place where, human rights, their situation over there, it's not as progressive as it is here in the United States. And then something like that happens. I don't know. It really is like something. It almost just, you can't. It's almost something like you don't expect at all. It's almost like a script out of a movie. Like it's just terrible, like awful. And then all the words that were coming out about Grant and what everyone had to say about him, like it's so heartbreaking, man. And like he's the type of journalist that isn't in it for like the clicks. He wasn't in it for shock value. it seemed that he was in it because he genuinely wanted to promote the sport, and not only just promote that sport, but promote every sport that he was covering. It's just all of it, man. It just like, it's so hard. And I'm watching that game yesterday, in the back of my mind, I'm like, man, this is, I'm cheering for England. It's the World Cup, but I feel like weird cheering for this right now. And then I don't know if you heard halftime. I mean, you were at the athletic club, so I don't know if you heard, but like,
No, they didn't have the sound on during halftime.
yeah, John Strong and Stu Holden were on the call. Of course, both those guys American. And when John Strong, the play-by-play guy, started talking about it, because they cut to the shot of Grant Wall in his media seat, he started tearing up and kind of said, like, Stu, you got to talk for a minute. I got to compose myself. Like, it's just all, that's when it kind of became real, like very real, when that all started happening. It's just unfathomable, man. It really is.
Yeah, I was following Grant during the whole World Cup because I'm not as well versed in soccer, so I would, wanted to know what was going on and everything, and then suddenly someone would say like he's dead, and I saw the post he put about him not being able to go into the stadium with the gay pride shirt, and God, just for like, was it a week and a half later for him to be, presumably murdered over it? Terrible, absolutely terrible.
Yeah. Just to say he collapsed, and it's just,
if I mean, his own brother even said, I suspect foul play, and his wife was like, he was perfectly healthy. Something must have happened. I'm not naive. I can't believe that all of a sudden, after all that stuff happened, he just collapsed and died. Now, if that's the case, that's a very sad story. But I do believe something happened to him. Yeah. And that's just terrible.
Yeah. It's all just, everything about it, man. It's just so messed up. Just so messed up. I can't even, like that video of his brother was just so heartbreaking.
I had to turn it off because it was just too much.
I watched it once. I'm like, I'm not going to watch that again. I can't watch that again. That was like, the dude's asking for help. He's asking for help at the end of it. Like, oh my gosh, man. I guess.
Terrible. When it's bigger than sports. Rest in peace to Grant Wall. That's a terrible, terrible story.
By the way, just side note. It's awful. It's raining heavily here right now. Like,
is it now?
This is as much. Yeah, this is as heavy as the rain has been all weekend, and it rained pretty much all day yesterday.
Yeah.
So this is going to be an interesting game with the Buccaneers.
Wet and sloppy up in Levi's today.
Yeah, this is going to be an interesting game, man.
You know what else is going to be interesting?
Huh?
When the Warriors season ends. So yesterday we were watching Celtics Warriors, in a great performance by Steph Curry and gang to get the victory over the Boston Celtics, the best
14-0 when him and Clay score 30 points or more.
Yeah, that helps. That definitely helps. And also, I just think that the guys, when they're focused, they'll be fine. Not much needs to be said about the game, but as far as the report before the game, Adrian Wojnarowski wrote an article before the game commenting on the future of Bob Myers.
Yeah.
So he says that Bob Myers' contract is up after the season, and there are no discussions about extending him, and the contract will expire come June. Now, we already know that Draymond Green maybe will not return to the team next season. We'll see about that. But this is surprising to me a little bit, just because Bob has been the conductor of this team for so long. He, has done a great job, in my opinion. He's, signed Kevin Durant. He locked up Jordan Poole this offseason. He signed Andrew Wiggins to his contract. And there were rumors a few years ago when the Lakers were going to find a new general manager, and they settled with Rob Pelinka, but Bob Myers was in the mix. I remember that being a discussion. And there was, with the Warriors front office, Joe has a lot of his sons working, and
right.
Kirk has always been the number 2 as far as an assistant to Bob Myers.
Yeah.
I don't know what Bob's future is. Bob has been a great guest. I know he goes on with 95.7 The Game currently. He used to go on with my pops back in the day. Great guy. Love him. But I couldn't say that I'm confident in Bob Myers returning as general manager of the Warriors.
Yeah, it's a tough one, man. You know, like I don't know if it's a situation where he needs to do something in order to keep his job, or if this is just a kind of premeditated already, like this is what's going down. Um, like, and this also on top of Monty Poole, like saying on a podcast definitively that like there's going to be changes made to this roster if they don't manage to improve to 500. Um,
By
and
the trade deadline?
yeah,
Really?
yeah, if they continue to hover around this way, he said straight up, like he said there are probably going to be changes to this roster, and he said that no young guys are untouchable, even Kaminga. But I'm like, with the way Kaminga's playing right now, I'm
Yeah.
like, that guy's looking like a star. Like the Wiseman and Moody thing, I get that. Like Moody's going to be an okay NBA player, but he's not going to be anything more than like a rotational kind of, you know, guy who could possibly lead from the bench. Yeah, maybe he could be a star. I don't know. That's actually too far because the guy can't even drink in a bar legally yet. And Kaminga is just looking like an absolute stud right now. And Wiseman, I don't know with Wiseman. I mean, they keep on saying like, "Oh, we want to get him reps, we want to get him practice," but in reality, the thing they're dodging is, yeah, he's just not good enough right now. He's just not good enough, and we need him. We need him down there because we need to. We don't need to have him on our roster just so we could be obligated to put him on the court and then have him try to play 5 minutes a game. I don't know, man. This is an interesting one.
Yeah, I was kind of shocked to see this yesterday, and just the timing of it. But I would not be surprised if Bob just wanted to leave. Would not be surprised.
Yeah, I mean, what if he just does not want to be a general manager anymore?
He was an agent. He was an agent before all this, so we shall see. Because Bob's one of the best dudes in sports going, and he's good at being a general manager, but he's also good on TV and on the radio. So there's also that.
He's so good. He's like, he really, it's funny, man. Like he's always, whenever he's on the radio and you're just talking about like Steph or something like that, they're talking about how he's like genuinely a good guy, Steph Curry, that is. I'm thinking about like, man, Bob, you are that way. You seem like you're genuinely a good guy. Like in a world where, there's a bunch of egos with general managers and all that. He doesn't seem to have one. He seems to just, the way that I describe him is he seems to just get it.
Yeah.
Like he gets it.
No, he's a personable dude. Like a lot of people give him shit for the crying when Kevin Durant got hurt, but he was emotional about that. And yes, some people say like, oh, he was just trying to sign him back. Okay, but he cares about these players. It's not like, you see interviews with Brian Cashman. I think the dude's a robot. Right. Bob Myers seems like a real guy. So, but a lot of what goes on with the Warriors as far as the winning and dealing with Draymond, I'm not surprised if some guys are just like, I've had enough.
Cashman also kind of sounds like a robot too if you listen to him talk.
Who's a bigger robot, Brian Cashman or Jason Garrett?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Jason Garrett, I'd say.
I'd say Jason Garrett just because his eyes like never move. They're always the same kind of wide.
You saw that head turn the other night on Sunday Night Football where he was like,
yeah. Like it's a weird way. Cashman just kind of sounds like a robot. Like he has that robot-y tone of voice where, yeah, we were gonna pick up Aaron Judge and we want to
making him sound like Scott Farrell. Jesus.
We want to pay him. We want to pick up Aaron Judge. We want to pay him the money. It's a good Scott Farrell, right?
Good Lord. Yeah, I mean that's more Scott Farrell than Brian Cashman.
Here we are on NFL's top 10. I'm gonna be on my top 10 NFL. You're the top
shirtless.
10.
I'm shirtless for some reason.
Here's the top 10 comebacks in NFL history.
By the way, you see, did you like Xander Bogaerts going to the Padres? Oh yeah,
dude. It's crazy, man. The Giants, like, wow. They just, I don't know.
Did you want with Nino?
Well, who?
Mets?
Nemo? You mean Nemo?
Nemo.
Yes.
I was thinking of Finding Nemo.
Yeah, that's like, see, I don't care about, I don't know why this matters to fans about bringing fans to the stands. Like bringing in players who fans want to come and see. It's like Nemo doesn't fit that bill. Who cares? who cares if you're a baseball fan and you know what Nemo can do, where he's a leadoff hitter that can run, that can play defense, and that can hit for average. Like he's an old school type of player. I think any team would want Nemo. I think I was more sad about that one. The Bogarts thing, Bogarts is great. Like, don't get me wrong, he's great. But that one, I felt like that was more like the Red Sox player to lose. Like the Padres, I think it's going to be fascinating what they do with Fernando Tatis, by the way. I mean, it's just like you pick up a guy for an 11-year deal and he plays the exact same position as Tatis, and Bogarts has never shown any inkling of wanting to play anywhere else but shortstop because that's what he's played his whole life.
Yeah, but it sounds like they're going to put Tatis in the outfield.
No, not at all. But I think it's an interesting little tidbit there. I wonder what
it very well could be. It very well could be.
I think there's something interesting there. But I think that was more the Red Sox player to lose. Like that was, he was right there for the taking. All you needed to do was pay him.
Yeah.
And so I'm not really sad about that. The Correa thing, though, I think Correa is going to be an interesting one. I think.
Do you think they actually sign him?
I don't know. Like, I'm not going to, I can't say definitively yes. Like, how can anyone say yes to the Giants are going to make a big signing with everything that's happened this past week?
Well, and Kodai Senga goes to the Mets as well.
Yeah. I mean, they held the 2 free agent visits that they held, which were publicized. They did not get those players. Like, maybe Judge had the idea of going to the Yankees all along, but Kodai Senga hadn't made up his mind.
Yeah, and I mean, Susan Slusser says that the Giants have to sign Carlos Correa. I mean, they may have to appease the fan base, but I don't know if they will. And the guy that I think is the most likely one is Dansby Swanson. But yeah, and also, do you see the report out there that Ken Rosenthal is saying that the Dodgers are not interested in Carlos Correa because their fan base would be pissed? I call bullshit on that one.
It's not just their fan base, though. It's also the team. They wouldn't want, the Dodgers would not want him there. Like, they don't like him.
They would get over it.
I know, but they don't want him.
But who's likable on the Dodgers anyway?
Who's likable on the Dodgers?
Well, Mookie Betts probably, but
Mookie Betts is very likable. Kershaw's a likable dude.
Yeah, true.
On the Dodgers though, well, Bellinger's not there anymore.
Yeah, true. My point is that the Dodgers never think about that stuff. If they have a player to get that's going to be good for, yes, the fans will probably be pissed at first, but they'd be like, all right, well, we got a good player, Carlos Correa.
But I'll say this:
he also fits being in LA.
Like, I think Farhan I don't know. Maybe their strategy can rub free agents the wrong way. The whole analytics thing. But if you listen to Carlos Correa talk, this dude, I'm sure you have. I'm sure your station's played that sound over and over again, where it's just nonstop going up against where he's talking with the playoffs last year, and he's talking with the pre and post game shows, and he's like,
I don't know if I've heard that.
Oh yeah, he's talking about WOBA and the weighted on base average.
Yeah, maybe
the runs, the ERA plus. He's talking about all these little analytics and how they matter. Like where he's
the only sound I've heard of Carlos Correa is when he proposed to his girlfriend.
Ah, right. Yeah. But I think it can be pretty likely if there's going to be one guy that they can entice, but also it's like I said with the Judge thing. It's the same thing with Judge that goes to all these other players. You got to prove you're able to win, at least in the. Hey, I really got to clean this table.
All right.
Yeah, you got to prove you're able to win, man. And if Correa, coming from that's why he left the Twins. He goes to the Twins thinking the Twins are going to be they're offering me the money. And also, they got a lot of young up and coming players. Maybe we could do something here. And they didn't. Is
it crazy though if he goes back to the Twins? I don't think so.
No, I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility, but it was always a weird situation with that and the Twins because that signing was seemingly made overnight. Last year, if you read into it. Hey.
Here's my thing. Here's my thing with the Giants. Let me know if I'm wrong.
Okay.
They've never been a huge free agent team. Ever.
No.
They signed Barry Bonds. The biggest contract they ever threw out there was Johnny Cueto. I know fans are showing their displeasure, but this has never been a thing for the Giants. And I don't know. They just have never seemed like a crazy free agency team. I know that Brian Sabian's gone all in the past, making deals at the deadline, but they never have been a free agent team, in my opinion.
I mean,
And that's not Farhan's specialty. Farhan is the analytics guy. He's the guy that's finding, you know, the utility dude that everybody's pissed off about.
right. Yeah, they never have. But the thing is, though, like in this offseason with the National League West, like you had to change. You know what I mean?
No,
Like
I
I think
understand.
what you're saying is absolutely right, and that's why everyone was really down on what happened. But going into this offseason, the reason they were expected to be one of the more aggressive teams is not just because like putting all that Farhan stuff aside, you got to change and you got to sign free agents because that's what these teams in the National League West are doing. And if you don't, if you don't bolster that roster, then you're just going to be third in the National League West at the best for the next couple of years.
No, it's similar in respects to what the Niners have to do with the Rams, or even the Cardinals. Even Rams are very well known for being fuck them picks, and the Niners went all in to get Christian McCaffrey.
Right.
And we'll see if it pays off for them today because they're going to need a lot of him against the Buccaneers with Brock Purdy making his first start. The wings were good with the mustard, not bad.
Well, that's
not really
good.
Much of a, not really much of a punishment, but
yeah.
I fulfilled it.
Sounds like you really had a tough morning, man.
Well, to be fair, the fire wings are not really fire to begin with. I mean,
No,
good place, tasty wings, but not hot and spicy to my liking.
They're not hot at all. That's why I like it so much. It's not too much. It's great. The quality of the wing, Derek. It's the quality of the wing.
Quality of the wing is not bad. All right, Steven. Guys, we'll see you next week on Wednesday. Say what you always say, my friend.
Slippy, slappy, Swanson. That's just our opinion, man. That's good, Ernie. That's good. You make a Dumb and Dumber reference. You're in my good graces. That's good.